people apply for jobs to work with people, maybe not particularly brands.
For the right people, you need to spend more money.
We have this thing that we fundamentally have to do, and both sides really don't like it.
So you count on this somewhat personalized approach that is not always possible, especially nowadays when so many things and so many communications are automated. Hi everyone, it's me, Anna. I'm here with Michal today, and that means this is a brand new episode of Operation Automation, the episode of the Sprint 4, when we're talking about building meaningful relationships within our teams, with other teams, with our customers, with all the beautiful people out there. And what is the best way to start building meaningful relationship than by having a really fascinating recruitment process? Unfortunately, not many recruitment processes are flawless. I'm by far too familiar with it as a candidate, but I don't know too much about it from the recruiter side. So, Michal, do you want to have the mic here?
Sure. So I definitely have some experience with hiring folks for the content partnerships team that I lead at GetResponse, but also supported other teams within the marketing department. And yeah, I can definitely vouch that having a smooth hiring process is difficult. And as a hiring manager, there's a lot of work that you need to do. For every single job that we posted, we had more than 100 or 200 people applying, and it takes a lot of time to review everyone's applications, their CVs, to go through the LinkedIn profiles if they link them with their applications, or going through their tasks, and then meeting with these people, especially when we're hiring remotely. It is challenging. It takes a lot of time, and especially if you're new to this role, you do need a partner on the talent acquisition team to help you filter out the right people, to talk to the right people, and make sure that you make the right decision when hiring folks. And it does take a lot of experience, takes a lot of time. It's always a learning process.
I imagine it also takes a lot of money for the company.
Yeah, it definitely does. That's interesting. So, that when we're hiring new people, it doesn't come from our budget, to post the job offers on different websites. And this is what we talk to the talent acquisition team. And there are so many websites where you can publish the job postings on. And some of them are more expensive, some of them are cheaper. Then there's LinkedIn. With every single new year, there are new apps that people use to apply for jobs, and it's impossible with the bootstrapped budget to just be everywhere and to show your offers everywhere. So it definitely takes a lot of money, and even for people to just go through the applications, to talk to people, to call to them, follow up with them. It is expensive, but for the right people, you need to spend more money, apparently.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. And as a candidate, you also have high hopes, because usually you're looking for a job, you can often be in this vulnerable position where you need to find something right away. You expect people to take your situation into consideration. So you count on this somewhat personalized approach that is not always possible, especially nowadays when so many things and so many communications are automated.
Yeah, I can actually admit that, I've made a mistake in the past where when I was hiring folks for our team, I didn't take hiring as important as it should be. It was an additional task to all the things that I was doing throughout the week. So I was trying to squeeze in between the errands that I had, the reviewing process of applications, and going over the CVs and making sure that our job offer is actually fully described in the way it should be. So, the process took longer than it should have. So in my opinion right now, if I was hiring for a new role, I would definitely make it as a task itself, for that week or for those 2 weeks. If I'm hiring someone, this is the main priority, to find the right person to help you out. Don't put yourself in a super busy position and say like, oh, I don't have time for hiring people. Well, you are hiring people to make sure that they can help you in the future. So, it's like with delegating tasks. Sometimes it takes time to delegate tasks, but, hiring the right people will help you in the future, and it will save you time. And especially if you're trying to scale a team, this is, your number one priority at that time, to hire the right people.
Absolutely. And I hope automation can help everybody get most out of the process. That's why today we're talking about how automating a recruitment can be beneficial for both the recruiter and the candidate.
That's right. So today our guest is Mick Griffin, who's the Chief Growth Officer at TRAFFIT. And TRAFFIT, for those of you that aren't familiar with them yet, this is a software that helps recruiters in posting job offers, managing candidates, sending them personalized messages, arranging meetings with the most suitable candidates. But it's not just software to help smoothen the hiring process for the recruiters. It's also the software that helps recruitees, candidates that apply for different companies to make the hiring process super smooth and super good. So this is TRAFFIT, and we're super happy to have Mick Griffin joining us for today's episode.
Mick has shared so many great tips and advice that hopefully will make the recruitment of the future a much more pleasant experience for all the parties involved. So I hope you like the episode, and let's jump right in. Hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about automation in recruitment. Before we get started, I have a question for you. What is a single thing in life do you wish you could automate?
Life, no matter what.
Yep.
Oh wow. Oh, mine are going to sound really bad. I've probably got two options, and one is a haircut, and two is putting gas in my car.
Nice.
Like if I could just click my fingers, I would love them. I don't know why, but that's probably because I'm literally having a haircut tomorrow, so I'm very biased right now. But I'm sure there are some smarter answers out there, I have no doubt.
So how would you automate your haircuts?
It would definitely be something that would happen when I'm sleeping. Yeah, I would just be able to go to bed one day and say, like, okay, tomorrow I wake up with this hairstyle. And somehow through the magic of technology, it would be done. But I'm sure I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and go, no, I could have given such a better answer to that question, but here we are.
It's public, the world is gonna see it. Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe there's gonna be at least a few startups somewhere trying to solve this very real problem. So yeah.
I think you could make like a helmet or something. So it's like a helmet
yes.
you go to sleep in, and it scans the ideal hairstyle you've selected and applies it to you. But it can be dangerous potentially.
Somebody posted lately that like AI will be part of every business in 10 years. And I made a joke comment saying, I will tell my hairdresser, I will tell my stylist, thinking that, this doesn't apply to every business. We always think about technology. And the person who posted it sent me links to 3 AI related hairdresser apps.
But I think it's really cool in like fashion, styling, because you can basically use AI to find whatever works best for you, like the shape of hair or the shape of eyebrows.
So I held my hand up and I said, yeah, my joke fell on its face, but I'm happy because now I know something I didn't know. So yeah, who knows? Hairdressers are not too far away from technology, it seems.
Exactly. Okay, so thank you so much. I personally like this answer, and we got a lot of really interesting ways to automate our everyday lives. So this is definitely not an ordinary one. Appreciate it. Would you please introduce yourself to our listeners? Tell us who you are, what you do, and why we're talking about recruitment today.
Yeah, sure. I'll do my very best. So first of all, thanks very much for inviting me. For the people I haven't had a pleasure to know before, which is probably a lot, my name is Mick Griffin. My title is Chief Growth Officer at TRAFFIT here, which is great because when you work in startups, they let you pick your own job title. Basically, the long story short, for the last 15 years, I've been working in mostly SaaS technology startups. So had the pleasure of starting 15 years ago in GetResponse, and then moved to Brand 24, and now I'm in TRAFFIT. And today is great, and I'm really happy to talk about kind of recruitment and automation today, because obviously I have kind of like 2 hats on today. So one is I can talk about a little bit about how TRAFFIT is using automation to grow as a business. But I've really been very lucky the last 2 years to see how, because TRAFFIT is a recruitment system, I can see how automation and recruitment are now getting closer and closer every day. So yeah, I'm super happy to kind of touch on both of those topics. And I think, also happy to kind of if my experience of those 15 years, even about just also like genuine hiring practices and recruitment in general, growing teams, hiring people, also super happy to kind of cover those topics today as well.
Brilliant, because we have so many questions. Because, now when you've mentioned growth, so I believe that recruitment is definitely like a huge part of growth, right? I wanted to ask you, how do you attract and recruit top marketing talent?
Yep. It's a great question. And I need to make sure that I don't talk about it for 20 minutes. It's a really nice question. So, I think the first thing that you have to accept, and one of my first advices is that we always have to remember that it's constantly changing. So whatever the tactic was to do this a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it's changing. Like, it's so dynamic. So like one of the ones I would say now is that it's something that I learned in sales a long time ago, which is this, like, people buy from people. We've always said this, like, people don't really buy from brands. They like to have faces and names and so on. And I think recruitment now, especially at mid to high end levels, people apply for jobs to work with people, maybe not particularly brands. I think this is a big one now. So one of the really things to do is to obviously invest in your personal brand a little bit as well. If you're a hiring manager out there of marketing, sales, growth, whichever the role is, just remember that people will want to also work with you, not only your company, not only your employer. So I think this is a really important one. And the other thing as well is and this is a really hard one, and we might dig into this one today, just like traditional marketing tactics. It's like you've also got to play the long game. So if you want to, one of the biggest things in recruitment now is going to be building trust, and the market is probably developing that, right? So now we've got a bunch of companies out there that had to make cuts, layoffs, and so on. So now people are questioning, oh my God, am I safe in my company? Is it a good time to move? So trust is a really hard thing now to get someone to move from company A to B. But then on the flip side, if you were affected by those layoffs or you're in the recruitment market, you're now thinking, how do I trust my next employer is not going to let this happen to me again? And trust is something that we really have a hard thing building like instantly. So what we've got to do now is make sure as businesses, as individuals, as hiring managers, in my opinion, is play the long game. So, build relationships, let people get to know about your company. So when they are looking to, if you wake up in the morning, you think, okay, it's probably time for me to have a new role of experience. You want to be one of the companies in the back of their minds. Like, it might be time for me to finally go and talk to Mick about if something is available at TRAFFIT, if something is available at GetResponse, if something is available at Brand 24. And that's really easy to say and hard to do, because if you're watching this podcast and you go, oh yeah, but I can't do that tomorrow and I need to hire someone tomorrow. But I think that's what we might see now over the next 2 or 3 years in recruitment, is building relationships, not like only when you need someone, but you've got to think 3 months, 6 months before it's time to go and have a presence, a profile in that market of really smart performance marketing people, because probably in the next 6 months, I'm going to need one. So because the alternative of the brand building and the long game and stuff like that, which, to be honest, the only reason I know this tactic, and this is something that I've learned through probably mostly at TRAFFIT, is you have to do that when you don't have a big budget, when you can't go and throw money at a problem. And there's nothing wrong with that if you have a budget. But I think the alternative plan is, okay, well, we have to offer really competitive salary. We have to go and post on 5 job boards. We're going to have to spend money to bridge that trust gap instead. But I think that this is where my concept here is always trying to think about what is around the corner. I think this is also probably this tactic or the advice I gave you or the answer to this question is probably more how I think things are going to look in the coming months. Maybe it's not really required today, but I talked to a really interesting influencer in recruitment lately in Romania, for example, where we are investigating. And she totally said that she thinks that job seeking will actually die eventually. And it will all be sourcing, career management, headhunting type of thing that, they have in the tech space, for example, in Romania now, they have such a saturation of jobs and not enough candidates that people don't need to go to job boards. They just need to go. And that's where I think that it's probably an extreme, but I think that That's why you don't want to start a recruitment process with a candidate who knows zero about you when possible. You want to at least, they should recognize the brand, or they should recognize a name, or they should be like, oh, I kind of heard about you guys, kind of thing. And that's the kind of thing that I think we need to start playing the long game about now. But probably this is also, like I said, I'm probably thinking maybe a step or two ahead. Now you can post a job on a job board and get some candidates, and you're going to be okay. But we are also seeing this trend now that job boards are really successful or having a high attrition rate for entry positions. But when you start to hire mid-level, C-level, 5 years experience, 10 years experience, that's where it's harder because we're in demand. We're in a great position. I think everybody on this podcast, we're in a really nice position because startups are growing out every day. We're talking now about the fact that if 10,000 people got laid off from Facebook, that we can expect 500 startups out of that group of people. Because some people will decide, I'm not going to go for another job, I'm going to take control. But there are not always the people to work in them. So it is an interesting time. But yeah, so still for especially entry positions, job boards are great. People looking for jobs, that makes sense. But we are seeing more and more that mid and senior level positions, advertising jobs is not such an easy thing to do when you're starting from scratch.
So this question that I'm dreading every time I'm having a job interview, as of how you've heard of us or have you heard of us, it exists for a reason, right?
It does. I think, if we are talking about, like, if we look at maybe the recruitment process very at distance, we are talking about obviously a fundamental switch of power from employer to at least moving to halfway, where employees now have more and more power. They can check you, they can Google you, they can check your reviews, they can they can find other employees on LinkedIn, and they obviously have other offers. So in the past, I feel like a lot of the power of a recruitment process was with the person doing the hiring. Why should we hire you? Why are you good enough? And now the tables are turning and evening out to where employees are saying, why are you hiring? Did someone leave? Did somebody resign? How many people do you lose a year? We're seeing all these memes and stuff like creeping into social media and LinkedIn now, where we are showing that the power is evening out. But yeah, it is important. How did you hear about us? But also what is becoming more important is, like, what do you know about us? Yeah. What have you heard so far about us? That kind of question.
Sure. So actually it's interesting because for me at least, like the whole experience, like this recruitment experience, it relies mostly on the person, on the recruiter, on the person hiring you. Because, like, first of all, this is like your first contact with the company very often. Okay, if it's outsourced, it's a different story. But I'm thinking about a situation when you have your HR team responsible for the recruitment process within the company. So I wanted to ask you, like, okay, what do you think about the recruiter and the process? Like, what should be... How do we develop these two skills? Like, the skills, the personal skill of a recruiter, plus the process that might be something more tied to the company, perhaps?
It's a really good question. The funny thing is, like, when I joined TRAFFIT, I was a novice in the HR space. I came from email marketing, social media, and one of the things when I was starting to do discovery, which was really crazy, where I was talking to people, like companies saying, like, do you enjoy recruiting people? No, I hate it. It's a really hard, scary, horrible process. And then I'm going, candidates, do you like recruitment processes? No, it's a really scary, stressful process. And I'm like, wait, so we have this thing that we fundamentally have to do, and both sides really don't like it. So it's a very unusual thing going on here in recruitment. But so one of the things that I think recruiters, first of all, like, the irony thing is that I think recruiters are really under pressure. They have a really tough job. Like, fundamentally, we know the research is, HR are coming out of the stereotype of being a cost department, undervalued. And I've always had this thing like HR teams need to be celebrated more. And that's one thing we need to do. We need to boost that. We need to empower our recruiters and our HR teams. And I'll give you a prime example. You've probably had this like I've had it. I've got a long history of sales, and you close that big deal, you close that client, you hit that target, and it's company-wide post on Slack, hey, everybody, we hit our target. How amazing. We just signed this great customer. Great. And that is great for the company. Now, let's say that the recruitment team and the company, they close a recruitment for a really good seasoned sales rep. Let's say sales rep or sales representative. It doesn't get celebrated at all. Yet that sales rep is probably going to have a bigger impact on the company than that one big sale. But we are not celebrating it. Yeah, we are. And this is something that I think we need to, like, fundamentally, I think that's one element, maybe is a bit more high level. But coming back to your original topic of how to kind of the things that we can do. One thing we also need to do in organizations is the recruitment process. We need to make it as seamless as possible. And what I mean is, like, recruitment processes are like sales processes. So what happens is, first things first, a candidate mostly interacts with some form of online technology. It's an application form, it's a website, it's a career page, it's a very online experience. Then, in the traditional sense, they will interact with a recruiter within a company that will do some kind of screening. Recruiters generally are really nice people. They have really good patience. They ask nice questions. And then at some point, we probably involve a supervisor or a hiring manager of the actual role. So we switch to a manager who isn't recruiting every day. And then that can actually become like a really big change in approach, in atmosphere. You went from a really nice screening call, like was really friendly with a recruiter, and then you go into the next call with a hiring manager and they're like, how would you solve this problem? Like, why you didn't hit 90% of your target last year? Why, and it suddenly becomes a very impactful, because that hiring manager also has a different motivation. They want to hire they're not thinking about culture. And then you switch back to the recruiter for the negotiation of salary, for example. And excuse me, we had this with customers in the past. You would interact with the website, then you would get a really motivated sales representative trying to sell you the product. Then you would be passed to customer support who have a different vibe. And now, we learn from that. And now we try to streamline those. Right. So marketing, sales, customer support, they talk, they meet, they try to synergize, and they try to limit this feeling of being passed from one department to another for a customer. We have to do the same with candidates. We have to make that like those people involved in recruitment, first of all, they have to meet before they start recruiting. Okay, what's the goal? How do we want to do this? How does this work? And that still is a very rare situation. That doesn't really happen so much. That communication part and that taking care of the candidate part doesn't still really happen. It's like, okay, that was great. We've verified you on the screening call. You're going to meet with such a person in 2 weeks from now. That's not actually particularly candidate friendly, because 2 weeks is a huge amount of time. And it's because we are disconnected. And then the other thing that where that synergy falls apart or is lost is also information from the candidate. I feel sorry for candidates in a way where the application form says, tell us your experience. Then on the screening call, tell us your experience. Then you meet the hiring manager, they tell me your experience. You're like, can you imagine if you were trying to sign a customer and you asked that customer to enter their credit card details 3 times? They would not buy your product. But the lucky thing is we get to learn from sales processes, marketing processes, and apply it to recruitment. Now, the reason why the recruitment is a little bit later is because, again, the power was with employers. I'm the employer. I don't have to care if you tell me your details 3 times. If you want the job, do the work. And now candidates are saying, no, it's okay, thank you. I'll go with, employer B, employer C. So that's forcing the innovation a little.
That's true. And I was going to say at the beginning that Irek mentioned that the recruiter is sort of the face of the company and they represent the brand. And honestly, I don't really trust recruiters because they are so easily cheerful, like everything is going to be great. You're going to have an amazing team. You're going to have a fantastic job. We're just a really good bunch of people here. And it doesn't necessarily mean anything because they work in their HR team. I am not a part of the HR team, so good for them for having a friendly team and fruity Thursdays, but they usually don't even know what it's like in the marketing team. And this has happened to me so many times that I ask, for example, like, I don't know, and what is the scope of responsibilities of the department? What is the day-to-day work looks like in the department? And they'd be like, yeah, we don't really know, but in HR, it looks this way. And I'm like, well, I don't care what it looks like in HR.
it's so true. And the questions part is the key. Yeah, they have like, we don't trust anymore the sunshine and roses picture. Yeah, we don't trust anymore that every day is great, everybody's happy, you get to play ping pong all day. Like, we don't trust this anymore because we don't want it. Even it's not invite. But I always do the like in my interviews now. Anika, our head of culture here, will laugh when she listens to this, because I have this goal from an interview process, and I always give a hypothetical. You've either experienced this or you can relate, which is you get a new job, you get offered the job, you accept, and most people are full of energy and enthusiasm. Yeah, I got a job finally. I got my job at TRAFFIT. I'm so excited. And you join that company, and that energy level is high. And if you experience something in the first day of work that you didn't know about, like that, oh my God, my target is this, or oh my God, you expect me to be in the office 5 days a week, that energy goes from here to zero instantly. And my goal from the recruitment process is actually, how can we keep that energy level for weeks? How can we keep that enthusiasm for weeks? The only way we can do that is in the recruitment process, give the good and the bad. Listen, TRAFFIT is a hot mess some days. It's organized chaos. Like, I have to let you know, like, this is sometimes, let me even give you an example of what's happened. Yeah. Let me give you, so that they don't, because if you give them time to process that, and like you said, that has the recruiter has to be on board with that, the hiring manager have to be on board. It has to be synergized between everybody. But yeah, you've also got to, like you said, otherwise people just not going to trust you nowadays. It's some things is too good to be true is a real thing in recruitment now, right?
So what we're going to do now is go over some of the things that happened to us ourselves in our recruitment history, our pain points and painful memories. And you can try and save future marketers and sales professionals from repeating our mistakes.
Oh my! So I'm here now, holding the whole recruitment industry on my shoulders. I'm excited. I'm ready.
Exactly. It's my favorite part of this podcast. I think one of the things I hate the most is when you're filling in the application. So as early on as filling the job application, and it asks you to connect your LinkedIn profile, to manually upload your CV, and then to enter the same information that's already been there twice manually in different parts of the application. Is there any way to keep that from happening?
Yes. So basically all employers have the ability to bypass this process. So one is through technology, and what there are now, there are really nice products out there where if you upload a CV, of course, what the system can do is it can scan a CV and pull out the data and put it into data fields, right? So the reason why this is sadly being duplicated is because companies are saying, I want your CV because I want to read it, but I want you to input all this data because I want to be able to use it in like a database scenario. Like, show me all the people that have 3 years experience in this, that, and the other. But right now they are not connecting the dots between the two, because it does take some technology and a little bit of work. And why this is not yet mainstream is because we have a little bit of a free-for-all on CVs. So we have one person that makes a really plain Word document. Then we'll have the other extreme, which is someone who's like, I'm going for a designer job. I'm going to use Figma or Canva or Photoshop, and I'm going to show my design skills in my CV. And when you put it into the system says, I have no idea what this says. So it's purely for a visual, which I think is okay. I probably, before I joined TRAFFIT, I was a little bit anti-CV in general. I feel like it's super old school, but I always use this word, I'm always talking from a place of LinkedIn privilege. Like, we're in the tech sector. So yeah, if you're not on LinkedIn, I'm probably not hiring you anyway. So I know that doesn't apply to like manufacturing jobs and things like that, for example. But the fundamental, that is the reason why recruiters and systems now, they want to have databases of data. They don't know how to get it from the CV, or they haven't invested in getting it from the CV. So for now, they're saying, give me both. My fundamental element is that I think you could probably live with neither. I mean, I think unless you are hiring on a huge scale, data is helpful but not necessary to like ruin the candidate experience. So I'm happy asking for a CV or a LinkedIn profile, and I don't really need that to be in my recruitment system, because I'm not recruiting at a scale where I need to say, show me everybody who worked in a marketing role for 5 years or more, because I'm not dealing with tens of thousands of candidates. That's the difference here. But the technology is getting better and easier. Looking through systems, scrolling through systems. And what's nice about these two things is recruiters are also educating themselves, so the need becomes lower and lower. So what you're going to find is probably like you find in most things. In 10 years, there will still be some organizations asking you to do this, but these will be these big, slow-moving dinosaur organizations that even today, when you want to apply for anything online or do anything, if you want to do it in a startup, it's 2 clicks and you're in. If you want to do it, for example, in the city hall or any government organization, it's 15 pages of application form. So it's education and technology meeting together, and it's just taking time, sadly. But I agree, it's super painful and it's not really necessary.
But I just was like, as you were providing this answer, I was just thinking that it's actually a really great screening opportunity for the candidate. So if I don't want to work in a slow-paced moving company, I will not fill in my CV 3 times.
It is. It's an advert in itself. And this is something like, and the same way that, I think even back from working in GetResponse in the email marketing days, and we had the debate of what should a sign-up form look like. And the statistics showed that for every data field you add, you lose 7% of your signups. And then it's okay, because maybe you don't want every signup. In the same way that I think some companies are using application forms to also see who's committed enough to fill out 3 or 4 extra fields. It works both ways, right? And it's all about what are you willing to sacrifice. But it is definitely, one thing that recruiters should be doing, and they will be doing in 5 years, is looking at application form to candidate application conversion ratio. And they are not doing this now.
Hopefully they'll be doing it in the future. Right? Let's hope so.
Well, they will do eventually, because what they are starting to learn now is how much it costs them to get people to the application form in the first place. So when your CEO says, or your CFO says, hey, listen, you spent $4,000 on that last recruitment process, and you got 12 candidates, is that the optimum amount of cost versus candidates? And we'll have to answer those questions. But that's not mainstream, but it's coming. As recruitment becomes more expensive, it's coming.
That is actually a thing I'm personally very interested in. Like, is it better to have 1,000 applicants that you have to dig through, you have to look for those data fields on, or you have 12, but those are highly selected 12?
I think it's definitely like how long is a piece of string question. And it's definitely like, what's nice is that there's a lot of talk about this lately, where we are moving away from this preconception that I want more candidates. By default, we normally feel better making a decision when we feel that we've had enough comparison. Like, give me 20 candidates so I can pick the best one. But the statistics show now that this is an extremely risky tactic. And ironically, like I'm an advocate for what we call fastest first in TRAFFIT, which is as soon as you've got any candidate that ticks your boxes, you should just hire them instantly. Regardless if they're candidate 1, 20, 100, you should hire them because of the market now and how it works, and also the candidate experience. But I definitely think we are moving from quantity to quality slowly.
I think it makes the perfect sense, because one of the things I hate the absolute most, and I think this is the most ridiculous reason to prolong the recruitment process, is when you've passed 3 or 4 stages and they say, okay, we really like you, like you've just passed the final stage, you've done great, but we want to interview a couple more people, or we still have like 2 or 3 people and we want to have like 5 or 6 people to choose from. It just devalues yourself as a candidate, because like, well, if you like me, you would hire me, right?
It's like, for me, it's mind blowing, because every person we talk to, like what you just said to me, we all go, yeah, of course. Yet we've got an entire industry that ignores it. But I'm 110% on that side of like, what are you doing? Yeah, like this literally is the craziest thing you could do. And it even goes against, like, if you compared any other human interaction that is in a similar category, you couldn't do that. let's say dating. Oh, that was a great day, but I need to date 5 other people before we can move to the next stage, or vice versa. Like, no other human interaction follows that rule. And I think the only reason for that is because so much power was in the employer side that they could say for so many years, hey, listen, if you're going to have to wait, you're going to, you need this job, you need this thing. And now the power has changed. But yeah, I mean, it's fundamentally crazy. We wouldn't do that with sales. We wouldn't do that with a customer. Or, yeah, that's great. I'm going to go see if I can find another customer that will pay more than you will. So, wait for me. Yeah. So yeah, it is. And I think it's a safety mechanism companies use to compare, because also they haven't had a time to do that groundwork of, before we start recruiting, who would be a good person for us. So when they don't do that, when they don't come up with this specification of who's a good person, the only thing they can do is take the best of who they have, which is probably a bad tactic, in my opinion, long term. What you should do is define first, because what you should also be like we all know now the cost of a bad hire. So what you shouldn't also do is like, I've got these 5 candidates, I don't really like any, but that person's the best. You shouldn't hire any of them in the meantime. But we do this a lot, because we have to fill the role. Let's just take the best person we've got. And again, it's a sign of the fact that I don't think any companies are doing this to be awful. They just either haven't got the time or the experience yet to know how to hire based on specification and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's all about candidate experience, right? And this is something that is hopefully going to grow.
I think there's also this parallel. First of all, I really appreciate that you're always drawing those parallels between like recruitment and sales, or recruitment and everyday life. And it also kind of comes down to personalization again, and knowing who you market to or who you want to recruit. So you need to have this profile in order to have a conversion. Sorry, my marketing slang creeping in.
It's still like, for me, I'm still like, because I've gone probably to such the other extreme of this, and I'm constantly thinking, how do you streamline and make recruitment processes attractive? I'm still even like, I even look at things like recruitment processes that have 3 interview stages, and I'm like, that's insane now for me. However, there is some element that it works, or vice versa, and etc. But yeah, I mean, like I'm probably so like moving towards the candidate element of the experience, because if you do this really late, if you realize this last, it's going to be super painful for your business, because recruitment is also this thing that is really interesting, because everyone is your competitor. And this is a really hard thing to experience as well, right? Like, I can be really, my network in Poland is great. I have lots of friends in different companies like GetResponse and Brand24, but we could all instantly become recruitment competitors if we're all hiring for marketing at the same time. So it's a crazy space because of this as well. So you've got to invest into recruitment, into keeping an eye on it and looking at it, because everyone is your competitor every day as well, in the fact that they may be trying to talk to your team members. They may be interested in your team members as well. So it's hard. You can't sleep on recruitment, but so many of us do, because we don't. It's also not the most attractive part of a company sometimes. It's much easier for a CEO to go, I want to go and find out what they're doing in marketing. I had an idea last night. It's very rare for a CEO to go, I want to go talk to HR today because I had a great idea about recruitment. We are not there yet. We are not there.
I've listened to a great podcast.
It will come with cost. And I kind of have this fundamental thing that, like, the cost of acquiring a candidate last year grew something like 43%. You either have to spend more on people, on agencies, on job boards, and finding the candidate is becoming more challenging and more challenging. So you have to spend more money. So I think just even if companies don't want to adapt, they will start to, because the cost will increase. And sadly, that's always the thing that kind of gets people's attention, that the employer branding budget just went up 30%. Oh my God, why is that happening? And so on. But it's still going to be good. Even if companies are forced to look into it, they will be thankful for it at the end, I think.
Sure. Which brings me to, let's say, a kind of experience that I find a bit awkward, that there's this super long process. And let's say that the first stage is like you are approached by a recruiter saying, hey, I represent this company from this industry, but I can't tell you which company exactly. And then I have this offer. So I have this name of the position, but I can't tell you the salary. So actually you have this limited, database, let's say. And then I'm wondering, what is the reason for this very first stage? Because when you've mentioned, let's say, the cost, I believe that if we shorten the process, it should also be related to reduction of cost of the whole thing. But I'm just wondering, why is it still happening that you are, let's say, approached by somebody who says hey, I've got this great product. Want to see it? Just come over to my place next week or something like this.
Yeah. Even, and so most of the time this happens because that is a contracted recruiter or an agency recruiter. And they are terrified that they will be like, hey, listen, I've got a great job at GetResponse. And you go, oh, thank you. But what I'll do is I'll go to the GetResponse career page, apply directly, and you're not going to get your commission. And there is so much technology to fix this now already. Why are we living in the Stone Age? Let's go and look at the affiliate marketing or partnership marketing or whatever. But that's fundamental. It's so crazy that it's not even the most common element of that is obviously external recruiters. I have a great job for you, but I need to show that company that you came through me before I can claim my commission. This still happens also in big organizations internally, because you might have a team of 5 recruiters and they're all trying to say that they brought the candidate. So the one that gets me the most is even if it's the name of the job, or I'm hiring for my company at TRAFFIT, if you want to apply, email me at mick@traffit.com. Yeah. I'm like, so why don't you just send them the application form? Let them apply. Nobody wants to apply by email. You're going to lose a huge drop-off. And it's because they want to claim the candidate. So we are sacrificing, again, candidate experience for old structure, old technology, old setups, and so on. And it's just because they just haven't been forced to innovate. But I always think that agencies and I feel sorry for agencies. They should have already fixed this. But yeah, would you like to apply for a job? I can't tell you where it is, and I can't tell you what the salary is, and you need to sign this document like that, but before you can. And you're like, of course I'm not gonna do that. That's crazy. Yeah?
It actually sounds like a trap. It's like, if you say yes, it is like, okay, this guy is like, it's a crazy person.
Yeah, it's like, Mick, would you like to go on a date? But I can't tell you who it's with, and you will only find out when you're married. Wow, awesome! I can't wait. I think there's a reality TV show like this somewhere. So yeah, this is. But again, when you break it down and you talk about it on a one-to-one scale, it sounds insane. But as categorically, we are doing this today. It's happening with some of the major organizations. And it's a lack of investment in technology, and even not about cost, but time to learn. Yeah. So at TRAFFIT, even in our product, you can have a UTM link, and I can give a UTM link to you and say, Eric, if you find anyone that might work for TRAFFIT, I can see in the system all those candidates came from your link, and I'll buy you a beer later for it, kind of thing. And probably in TRAFFIT right now, 90% of our clients don't do it, even when we tell them about it. So it's just the same way that I'm sure that you probably have a bunch of clients at GetResponse who use 10% of the functionality. And we are we are deep. We're like, why would you not? But we have to stand back and think, well, why can't they? Why not? And I think it's a little bit of time. It's a little bit of self-esteem. I also think that it's probably a big can of worms to open, which is, one of the things I learned is that recruiters have a love-hate relationship with technology. And this is like a nice segue for us, because they don't want to be replaced. They want to keep security. And they also, as again, we talked about this HR department environment of being very, very people-focused. They have a preconception that technology and automation will make these situations colder, less personal. They will take away the human aspect of it. And I think that is something that also is just the wrong preconception. The same way that now lots of marketers and content people are going, oh my God, chat, GPT is going to replace me. No, it's not. It's terrible. Yes, it is. Social media was going to kill email marketing, then it didn't. So just preconceptions, just all preconceptions. But I think that's a big part of it, that they don't take. Can I give a tiny story just because it's hilarious that for those watching from outside of Poland, we have a store, like a grocery store in Poland called Żabka, who and they've implemented a really amazing technology that you have the employee working behind the cashier, and you also have self-checkout. Yeah, everybody's heard of self-checkout. My local Żabka, self-checkout is basically covered in packages, hidden, like not connected, not plugged in. And eventually we kind of said to the employee, like, what's going on? Like the queue is like 6 people and I can't self-checkout. And they're like, yeah, we don't want to lose our jobs.
Oh, okay.
You can't argue with it. It's definitely the whole idea of the technology is to streamline it. But what they've probably missed is that, well, instead of checking people's food out, they could be doing other things. But there's just that, again, that fear of technology. And they literally hid it like, it's hidden away with packages and goods and everything. It's so funny, like that they are like trying to hide.
I've seen a better one in Żabka because it is now like the shops on Sundays are usually closed, but Żabkas are open in Poland. And in some of Żabkas, they've introduced those self-cash desks as the only working thing on a Sunday. But you cannot buy alcohol there unless it's less than 4%. And what they're doing is that a person must be in the store for the store to be open on Sunday, but the person doesn't stand at the desk because you can only use the self-checkout cashier. So what they do is like they're verifying your product as you are scanning them yourself. And this is like, it's screaming for automation.
It's just, yeah. Here we are, but it will come with that's the thing. I feel like I'm super lucky with recruitment because you can look at marketing 5 years ago, sales 10 years ago kind of thing, and you can relate to how people felt about certain things at certain times and what was adopted and also what was taken away. Yeah, like a prime example for me is like all the automation around social media that came out, like auto likes, auto follows, auto replies. And ironically, we decided as a society that we're going to drop some of them or we're going to make them illegal because they are ruining the experience for everyone. And I think the same thing will happen in recruitment. We'll go to one extreme, selling and buying data for email marketing. And eventually we said, hey, listen, no, let's stop, gone too far. Let's go back to permission-based. And everyone was happy about it. So we're at this moment, I think.
Exactly. And usually when we maneuver through uncertainty, there is a bit of fear tied to that. And some people, I believe that they just tend to lean towards the fear element. I remember that in email marketing, let's say, but it was like 8 years ago or maybe 9, where actually, there was this HTML as the core skill of an email marketer. And right now we use those drag and drop editors and we don't worry about it, but still we have even more work because we need to think about the experience. We need to think about how the users really feels. Meanwhile, like 10 years back, we would be just focusing on the code and just like hoping that this image will look good eventually. So, So we somehow, just went into the automation and into the technology side of our conversation. So I wanted to ask you, Mick, about the technology that you're coming with. Like, okay, so we discussed briefly the recruitment as a process and as an experience. I believe that it is also very, the recruitment process is related to uncertainty because the candidate has no idea what's going to happen next. Obviously, people are hoping for the better, I would say. So there is like some, serious expectations. Also, the employer, they do not know who they are hiring really because it's only based on several, conversations. How does technology help? What can we do to make this process easier? What can we do to make it better and feel better?
Okay. Now we get into this. So I've got a couple of angles of this, right? So let's first talk about like real-time recruitment processes. First of all, I think like the one of the biggest enemies in recruitment processes is time. For technically, it should be for both sides. Some most of the time, employers, they create these bubbles of time, like you said. They want to interview other people, but still, it's even fundamentally like. Time is the enemy. And I've always said this. I think the worst thing ever is, thank you so much for your time on the interview. It was really great. I really enjoyed talking to you. We'll let you know. And what I want to say is you let me know when. Like, should I refresh my inbox instantly? Kind of thing. When is too long? When is etc. So time and transparency, I think, are the keys that technology could really elevate. And one of the things I think is really important is Also, like even coming back to the methodology of recruitment, in my experience, probably not crazy experience, probably I've done like maybe 200-300 interviews over my career for people in my teams. Within 30 minutes, I know if that person is a good fit or not after the interview. But we'll tell people we need a week to really consider it. But I probably know even 5 minutes after the interview, like it clicked, it didn't click, whatever. So what we've got to be really, what we've got is, listen, why can't we tell that person 5 minutes after the interview? Yeah, maybe we need to play hard to get. Yeah, maybe we do. But also nowadays we probably value transparency over, negotiations, etc. So one of the things, for example, is another thing that is really important during recruitment processes. We did a study on this, and it was something like 90+% of all content sent to candidates during the recruitment process is the same. We thank you so much for applying for job X. We would like to interview you to the next stage, which is, why would you? So, but we are constantly rewriting these emails, copy and pasting them from notes. So what I believe is where automation comes in. Step one is when a candidate is, you screen the CV, takes you 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and you click like, yeah, I can validate that candidate. That should be it. When you click validate, systems and technologies in place can email that candidate straight away saying, here, not only has it, you've been validated, here's what you should do next. Here's a link for Calendly to pick your interview. We have all these like nice little technologies, and also we can even notify hiring managers. Like, hey, Mick, the recruitment team have found a candidate for your content marketing role. This is the candidate if you want to look in advance as well. So from an instant, like my vision, my dream for recruitment is that I believe we should have parcel delivery tracking type technology that when you apply for a job, you get your code like we do when we get something delivered by InPost or DHL, and you click on it and you see the recruitment process. You are currently now being considered validated by the recruitment team. They will reply to you within 24 hours. So we set those times up. You are now you are one of 7 candidates at the interview stage. I think, why not? Why not? Because I think it's a shame that candidates have to wait to try and find out what's going on. In the same way that if you interviewed someone and they're not a right fit, and you click in your recruitment system like unsuccessful, why they can't see that instantly? And yes, okay, we have to take into the human emotional element. So we should be writing to that person right away. This is why we didn't accept you, etc. So first thing I would do is that transparency, and I would have probably constant two-way communication, which again is not there. So what I mean is like if we had that kind of parcel type dashboard that basically as a candidate you could have a chat box which says, hey guys, I'm just writing to you because I've been on this stage for three days. Do you need any more information from like open up the integration? And I think that's the big blocker for that is not just technology, but one of the things as well is I think that as a company, when we recruit, we kind of see recruitment as painful and interruptions. So we talked about that uncertainty, like you said, of when you're a candidate, you apply for a job, you don't know what's going to happen. When I open a job position for marketing manager at TRAFFIT, I genuinely don't know when people are going to apply. So I don't know if I should keep my Friday clear for interviews, whether it shouldn't. And what we have to do is adapt and make recruitment the priority during that time and be more flexible. That while we're recruiting, I'm always available within 48 hours or something like that. So I think that's one element of technology that is really underrated, undervalued right now, that we need to stop making recruitment look like. I even think that we slow down communication because we want to give the impression that we so I'll give you an example. Actually, in recruitment, it's even challenging right now that there are some systems that, let's say you apply for a job and a company is really quick. So the CV comes through, you get a notification like we do on Slack. You have a new candidate. You look at the CV, oh, it's not right for us. You click reject and you say sorry. And on Twitter the next day will be like, TRAFFIT automatically reject people because you too fast, because you're too fast. So
people can't believe that there was some thought process behind that, right?
Yeah, you can't discard the emotional element of applying for a job and nobody likes rejection. Everybody likes being accepted. So we can't ignore that. Even now at TRAFFIT, we are considering building technology that you can set a time delay. So reject that person instantly and the email will go 30 minutes later, even though you already did it. Like,
but I thought, when you've mentioned that, I think that feedback, like valuable feedback, also like validates quick decision, because you can just make up your mind like in 5 minutes. But if you say why, then I'm totally okay with it. And it also helps me because I'm probably in several recruitment processes at this moment. So then I realize, okay, this is the kind of aspect that, I've been rejected because of that, and you actually really helped me. So still, I think that this recruitment process, even though it was not successful, it was really helpful for me because now I know more.
And I fully agree. And I think another thing that I believe in is that recruiters or hiring managers believe that feedback is either, if it's not super detailed, it's not valuable. So if I can't give that person 2 paragraphs of why I didn't hire them, they are just going to be mad. Where actually, if you talk to candidates, even saying like, I couldn't give you this role right now because you haven't had enough experience doing this, but thank you so much. So again, that's where technology comes into place. Hey, listen, the overall rejection category is experience. The subcategory is not enough experience in X. Please go send that email right away. Yeah, and technology can do that. And for now, again, I don't think it's fantastic. I think eventually people will want more feedback, more human interaction. But right now, 55% of candidates don't even hear that they were rejected. And something like 72% of candidates that were rejected didn't get told why, even because X. Not talking about they didn't get a paragraph. They didn't they were like, sorry, we didn't take you for the job. Good luck. So we even taking baby steps towards being better. Like, you didn't get the job because you didn't have this. You didn't get the job because of this categorical answer, because you lack the language skill that we need. For now, I think candidates will still be like, okay, that's better than before. It's not perfect, but it's better than before. And we should take these steps.
I don't know, because to me, the why is even more important than the fact that I was rejected. And there is an absolutely painful story of me being rejected. One of the first jobs I ever applied to, I passed all the interviews. They also paid for me to do this on site. And so that was a costly recruitment process on their end. And like now, 4 years later, I can probably imagine that I was overqualified for the job. I wasn't told that. The official reason why I got rejected was because I've said on an interview that I would prefer for the team to have friendly relationships within the work environment. And the reason that I got rejected was, well, you understand, not everyone's going to be friends at work. I was like, yeah, I understand, but I would prefer it to be this way.
No, and I think that the other thing to do, like we do this in marketing. So if you want to learn more about GetResponse right now, you have the option to read a piece of content, have a call with probably a salesperson, watch a webinar, watch a video tutorial. One of the things I really like, one of the best practices I see in recruitment is, I'm sorry, like, you were rejected for this reason. If you would like to know more or talk to me about it, here's a link to book 15 minutes of my time. I love this. Like, for me, this is like, yes, not everybody will want to know. For some people, it will be obvious. But for those people that are like, not even that they want to like contest it, which they can if they want, but even if they want to be like, okay, can we talk? Because maybe it was the fact that I'd like to learn how to give this answer in a different way next time because it sounds like we were misunderstood. I really like those. And that is something that I think is really important. And it kind of comes to what is like my big finale of the podcast episode, which is also recruitment right now is ridiculously wasteful. In general, it's ridiculously wasteful. So I have this concept that you want to hire someone, you get 20 candidates, you can only hire one. And right now we are throwing 19 away forever. Most of the time by setting it on fire and throwing it in the bin, that kind of level of throwing it away, like no feedback, no open door. Like we really don't think about the longevity of those relationships. And I think the more we do, the more we see the value, by the way. It's not about just being good people, but there is a huge amount of value in those 19 people that can also help companies to adapt a little bit as well.
And automation can help you to stay in touch with the rejected candidates, right?
It's the only way. Ironically, it's the only way because yes, when we talk to recruiters and businesses about how we handle rejections, which is the majority of what we do. One of the answers is, well, the CEO doesn't care about the rejected candidates because they're not adding value to the business, and I'm not paid to give rejections. And some very talented recruiters I know who are great people are like, listen, if I go to my CEO and say I spent 20% of my time this month talking to rejected candidates, they would be annoyed. Yeah. But fundamentally, on the flip side, like I said, you reject 19 candidates and you want to keep in touch with them and build a relationship. No recruiter can reach out to them once a month and say, hey, how you doing? You want to talk? I mean, maybe it's some C-level positions potentially, but in general, no. So ironically, automation is the only way to do that, but it's a really good way to do it. Like I don't say it as a sacrifice. I see it as a light at the tunnel. Like, why are we not doing? We've been experimenting with this at TRAFFIT now for 6 months, and it's fantastic. It really works. Like it's really great for us.
I know we're a bit over time, but do you think you could provide us with some examples of how you use automation to keep in touch?
Absolutely. So there's two things to know. I'll be as quick as I can. If I talk too quickly, people can always find me on LinkedIn afterwards and ask me specific questions. So we've got two things at TRAFFIT. One is candidates who are unsuccessful at the time. One of my big beliefs of why we invest into those candidates, even through automation, is if we look at the reasons why candidates are unsuccessful for applying for a job, 80 to 90% of the reasons are time-related reasons. We have a mismatch in salary expectations, a mismatch in experience required for that role, location even sometimes can be a mismatch, and all those things change over time. People become more experienced, they change their expectations. It's very rare that someone is like, oh my God, I really didn't like that person. And even then, that can be time related. That can change. People can be under pressure, etc. So the first thing we do is we take those 19 rejected candidates in this hypothetical situation and we nurture them and we keep in touch with them, because when we open up another role in marketing, in sales, in product, in IT, in 6 months, 12 months, 24 months from now, those people are still qualified candidates. And I don't have to go and pay the $28 per candidate acquisition fee that is the market standard right now. I don't have to go and buy another job advertisement. I don't have to pay for a job on LinkedIn because I've got 19 candidates to choose from. And if I found one successful candidate from 20, there's a really good chance I could find one successful candidate from 19. Like the conversion doesn't go down the toilet kind of thing. So what we do is all our rejected candidates, of course, in real time, they get rejection reasons, feedback, opportunity to talk more. And then we move them into monthly newsletter funnels. Mostly because the key thing is to remember, one of the biggest tips I can give, when we communicate with candidates month to month, or in any moment, you have to give value. Now, that sounds super easy to say, but if you're saying, hey, here's a newsletter, TRAFFIT is great, we did all these great things, we achieved all this good, candidate's going to be like, why would I care? Where's my value? Yeah. So the first thing we do for now is we categorize them by like department. So we have an IT part, product part, marketing part, customer success part, etc. And every month we send those newsletters and we try to find value for the candidates. So it can be as simple as like, hey, listen, I want to tell you, I found a great article about customer success. I found a webinar. It's not always like giving something for free kind of thing. Sometimes we'll give access to things. But even what's a great one, I'll give you like a little hack is like, let's say that like InfoShare is around the corner. I can go to InfoShare and say, can I have a 5% discount? And I'll give it to all my IT candidates. So, you can negotiate those things as well. So we do that month by month. And also we have to give them value. So one of the things we do, which is a little bit experimental, they get exclusive knowledge of our next recruitments. So when we are hiring in customer success, they find out 5 days before we post it live. So they've got 5 days to apply, and we might even hire someone in those 5 days before we even go public with it. But we give them, because it has to mean something to be in that group, right? It has to mean something different. So we do that. We give them insights into the company as well. So we do say, like, by the way, this is what's going on in the company right now. We try to release this feature. We change our methodologies from Scrum to whatever, because ultimately we want to create anticipation with that candidate, that they're like, really want to work at TRAFFIT. Oh my God, like I'm waiting for that next role in marketing. And we want to create that, because when they go to market and they wake up that one day and they go, okay, it's time for me to change the job. I want to be here and I want the competition to just be here. Yeah. I want to already have the trust, the brand, the relationship, and I want them to second. And now the other thing we do, which is the second part, is I talked about this yesterday on my LinkedIn, which is we also have always open positions. So let's say you work really hard on your employer branding. GetResponse released like an awesome video of the new office yesterday on LinkedIn. It looked amazing. I was like, please invite me for a podcast in the office one day kind of thing. And what we believe in is that when you do great things like that, people should be able to go to your career page, because that's what you want them to do. You want them to be like, oh, I want to work there. And then I get there and I'm like, oh, there's no C-level jobs for me. There's no marketing manager jobs right now. I believe companies should have that door open. And what we do at TRAFFIT, we call them future star roles. So you can apply for a customer success job that doesn't exist today. But you can show me your intent. And it's all very transparent. Hey, we don't have a role right now, but we always are interested in new people, and we're going to contact you once a month and keep you nurtured and let you know the next job. And they go in that same funnel as the rejected customer success candidate. So in the last year, we gathered 84 candidates through those future roles, and when we weren't hiring. So, but more automation is not about pretending that it's human contact. It's not sending plain text messages saying, how is it going? Do you want to change the job? It's openly saying it's automated. Hey, nice HTML, very obvious, but my pure goal is to make you know a little bit more about that kind of thing. And it's so ridiculously cost effective. The ROI is insane. It takes me 2 hours a month to create a newsletter in GetResponse. I click send. GetResponse, I think we pay, you know the pricing better than I do. It's not a lot of money compared to the fact that what it would cost me to buy a job advertisement on LinkedIn or wherever it may be, or Indeed.com or something. Like it's endless. And the final kind of kicker for me is, remember, rejected candidates or potential candidates, they're applying for your jobs, or they're applying for these future star jobs because they're falling in love with your brand. That's okay. Yeah, maybe not so extreme, but like they have a brand affection for you. If you don't hire them in the future, they can become your future customers. They're going to go and work in everyone that applies for a marketing role at GetResponse could buy GetResponse in a different company. Yeah. And even if they don't buy your product, they will become an ambassador for you. They will be like, oh, GetResponse is awesome. And that's the added benefit here. If your head of HR says, oh, I don't know, go talk to your head of sales and marketing and say, listen, how would you like me to nurture 80 leads a month? Okay. So yeah, that was like not a very fast way of saying how I believe in nurturing people using automation.
Oh, that was fantastic. Thank you so much. Well, I think that was a great conversation, and I really hope that Mick's vision and TRAFFIT's mission get spread more, especially across European hiring, and more of our processes can become much more candidate-oriented, automated, and easier for all the parties involved. Because as we know, it's pretty challenging when you hire wrong. Like, Michal, what do you think as a manager? Maybe you've had some experiences. Like, what is the cost of the wrong hire?
I think there are multiple layers to this. Actually, I think at least 3. So if you're hiring and you hire the wrong person for the role, you have invested money into them, into the hiring process, into educating them, onboarding them. You probably spent 3 or 4 months getting them on board, and for some reason that doesn't work out. Well, then you've kind of wasted 3 or 4 months on the whole process and many people's time to do this. And there may be many reasons why, we're not following with the candidate, but in general, it is, it's kind of wasted time. Although you do learn throughout this process as well who you really want for that role, or who you don't want for that role, or what's wrong with that role. So it's not completely wasted. Then there's another layer to it. If you hire someone that isn't the right fit for the team, I think that can have a bad impact on everyone around. So they will notice that you've hired someone, for example, for a higher position than they should have been hired. They don't have enough experience or knowledge, or they're just not the right fit. So it could just, impact the relationships that you have with other team members, because, for example, someone might have been looking for a raise, or they wanted to be promoted to a higher position, and then you hired someone else for that position. So it can impact your whole team. And if you do it, multiple times, that you hire someone for that role and they leave, or you're not just sticking with them for longer, then it can be a bad thing. And the third one, I guess, if you're in a healthy organization, that shouldn't be the case, but I imagine that if you're hiring for a role, it is because your manager or your board members, they wanted you to fill out a gap that you have. They wanted you to reach certain goals. And if you do it multiple times that you just don't fill in that position and you don't meet the goals that you were set to meet, then they might question the reasons for this. And, it's not a good excuse to say, well, I've tried to hire 4 people for that role and spent an entire year hiring for that role. That isn't something that you want to say to them. They want, to see the goals. They want to see the results. They don't want to see, the reasons for it, because it could be the case that, maybe there's something wrong with the team, with the approach, that you're not making the company, a super cool place to work with, or your teammates to work along with. So I think there are these 3 layers that you have to keep in mind. That hiring the wrong person or in the wrong way has a cost.
And wow, thank you so much for bringing this up, because this is something that I have never thought about, because I was pretty lucky in my experiences. I usually tend to work for smaller companies, maybe startups, where your hiring manager is oftentimes sees someone who's also a founder of the said company. So it's much shorter, it's much faster. Sometimes there's not even a recruiter involved. So it's much more straightforward, but you're absolutely correct. If you're a part of a larger organization and you're trying to fill the role within this organization, then absolutely, there are all these levels above you that have pure business goals that are not just about filling the role. So yeah, that's an amazing point. Thanks again for it. And you've also mentioned that it's kind of sad in recruitment when a person leaves after 4 or 5 months, which makes me want to ask, how do you feel about job hopping?
So yeah, I've never done this myself, so I might be biased in here. In my opinion, there are pros and cons to this approach, but from my perspective, if someone's joining you for only several months, it usually is not enough, especially in a bigger organization. It's not enough for them to fully understand your company, your target audience, how processes go in the company. So you're investing a lot of time into them. So I guess it's not enough time to fully educate them, and it's not enough time to fully benefit from them, because usually the first 3 months, it is about them learning as much as possible, talking to as many people as possible, and not always bringing in the results just yet. They've probably, on the content side, let's say, they've probably not run their first webinars or done their first articles or published courses. So in one way, I feel it's sad if someone does this, and it leaves, in my opinion, it could leave a bad taste, unless there's a very good reason for this and everyone understood this. On the other side, I can see benefits of this, especially for the person that does it. They're probably getting paid more when they're hopping between companies. They're finding the true meaning of the job, or something that they really want to do, and they've just learned what doesn't work for them or what things they want to do. So there are many benefits for the person. I can imagine that it's working for them. For the company, I think less so. So I would say from my perspective, yeah.
I mean, I see your perspective and I think it's very valid. However, I am guilty as charged. I do tend to change jobs like every year or so. For now, I've been in an organization for 1.5 years, and that's my personal record. And at this point, I'm starting to feel like, a little too comfortable maybe, that I feel like I know all the processes, I know all the people. And it's an excellent ground for you to want to grow, to maybe take up some extra courses, maybe to mat a little bit on the side, start your freelancing, consulting, etc. But at the same time, yeah, of course, salary boost is a great benefit of changing jobs, but also you get so much experience. You get so much more opportunities to learn new things, to see how approaches can be changed. That's amazing.
That's true. So I would definitely agree with you. And I've been here for more than 11 years, and I've changed my roles multiple times as well. So probably that is the reason why I wasn't hopping between different companies, is that I'm always learning new things. I started as an account manager, working directly with customers, then moved to the marketing department where we were building an education department, working also with customers, but on a different in a different format. Then we turned into content team. Back then, SEO wasn't a thing, so now we're learning more about SEO, about lead gen and everything. So, the job is constantly changing, even if you're doing it in one company. But if you did it between multiple companies, you would learn new setups, managerial styles, you would learn new processes, new tools probably as well. But on the other side, I really like this comfortable feeling that you just referred to, is that I know all the people within my environment. I know whom to talk to. I have personal relationships with these people, so I can talk to them about anything, come up with an idea, and I don't have to think about the politics. Oh, would it be right for me to talk about their processes or their department or what they're doing? Or am I stepping on someone's toes? I don't have to worry about all these things. So even, when I was on vacation, I wasn't thinking like, there's this thing I want to bring up, but I cannot do it because, it might be looked down upon. Well, this isn't the case, at least in my perspective.
No, I think it's also the case of being in a healthy company environment, which is a very important bit. But yeah, absolutely. I think both approaches have pros and cons, as you've mentioned, and each work for different people. As you've mentioned before, it can be a generational thing, it can be a culture thing, so many different reasons. For example, I worked most of my time remotely, so I'm very pro-remote work, but again, I see benefits of coming to the office. So guys, what do you think? Do let us know whether you prefer staying in the same company for years on by, getting experience, sharing your experience, and seeing the business grow. Or if you're more like me and you want to see a little bit more of a rapid change in your lives and your careers. You can do that, of course, by sending us an email via podcast@getresponse.com. And you can hear more Operation Automation episodes across Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, or wherever you get your podcasts. And stay tuned for more because the next episode is coming out very soon. Have a great week ahead of you. Operation Automation is backed up by GetResponse, the marketing automation platform that's been on the market for over 20 years. Subscribe for more juicy insights. And remember, automate, don't complicate.